Let's try this one. All right. Let us get back into this, friends. You are watching or listening to the podcast that accompanies this project called No Other Life. A reminder, there's a second podcast now called Upstaged, which you might be interested in. My name is Rick Seaholm. You can find me on social media at Rick Seaholm or at my website with that exact same name. This day, we are going to be talking in continuation of our efforts last week to try to understand the concept of alignment. And I had said in the previous episode, quite truthfully, that I believe that our job as persons on planet Earth, as part of this civilization, is to reduce the friction that stands as an impediment toward improved communication and the reduction of bridges between us, or the reduction of distances between us, I should say. Build those bridges. But anyway, today we're going to be continuing the discussion. Now, last week I was talking about alignment in the manner of aligning what you say with what you are saying. And one of those is kind of nuanced because the presentation that you give, that you prepare, that you think you are giving may be different than the way that you are presenting. Therefore, what you say verbally may be wildly different from what you say in a nonverbal way. Something to think about. But today, we're getting into the concept of alignment within the realms that you inhabit. And this is going to be a bit of a different episode, I think. Now, when we talked last time about you giving a presentation about yourself, not for a hiring board, not for the one person you're trying to grab onto for networking purposes. No, this was for everybody on the earth that would recognize your face. And I wonder if you gave any thought to that, did it intimidate you? I believe that a great number of us would be horrified at the possibility of everyone that is aware of us seeing us at the same time. Sometimes you go into a grocery store and you see some person you know, and then all of a sudden someone from a different walk of life is there as well, and you're in this trio of people. They may not know you at all, but you know both of them. They may not know each other. And what ends up happening can sometimes be a little bit awkward. And that's because of a concept called realms. Now, if you think about all the realms that you inhabit, they are many in number. You have the realm of those you hold most dear. They may live under the same roof as you. And then you have those whom you hold dear and the one on the street. But there's people that know you at your favorite restaurant and the library that you visit, the coffee shop, your office suite, your office building, the other people who work for your company or organization that you only see maybe twice a year, once a year at a big party, or maybe you go on a big retreat somewhere. You got people at the various clubs that you go to. You have the people at your house of worship, etc. The list goes on and on. And the one thing that holds all these realms together is you. And I don't mean that you're literally the reason that they exist. You are the linchpin between all of those in this big web of knowledge. Your image of realms, if you could plot it out, would be completely unique. There's no one else that is in all the realms that you are and no other realm. So you got to think about that, because each of these realms provides a different audience at which you make your presentations throughout the day, the week, your lifetime. And as I said last time, your presentation may be different from how you present. So the idea of combining your realms intimidates people. And I hope we can get over that, or at least recognize why that exists. Now, when I say audience, you might literally think about audiences, and it's helpful at this moment to actually think about, say, a touring musician. Now, the touring musician has a different audience every night, but they probably give the same show, do the same banter. That's just a part of being a professional. But the reason that they have the same presentation is because the realm is Tour 2024. The realm is one big thing full of audiences, in this case, that are approximately very distant from each other. And that's okay. But if that same performer were to get a gig at a 50-person private affair, they're probably going to give a different presentation, and the jokes might be different, the set might be different, the music that they choose to play, even the instrumentation might be different. So when you think about your realms and all the different audiences that inhabit those, what are the different ways that you give that presentation? I mentioned last time that you might present differently than your presentation, and it's definitely worth thinking about here for a moment. Now, is it a good thing that you have a different presentation to give? You could look at this multiple ways, and if they're not completely out of alignment as far as those hallmarks of your story, your elevator pitch, those characteristics, qualities, and traits that are part of your inventory, then maybe it's not so bad. I mean, people can understand and accept variation to some degree for sure. If you are a kindergarten teacher, you're probably going to operate differently with the audience that is 5-year-olds in the middle of the morning and the other teachers who are fried at the end of the week, and you might go out on a Friday night. That's quite possible. And there's really nothing wrong with that, as long as you're not wildly out of sync. Or, I guess I should couch that a moment and say, as long as you realize why it is that you're doing that. If it's an intentionally different message, just ask yourself, why is that the case? And if you're questioning, should it be the same, or you might say, no, I'm totally real, I'm always there, doing the same thing. Well, I hope it's G-rated, because it should be suitable for all audiences then. Like, at the beginning of a movie trailer, it says anyone can watch this. And the reason for that is because, obviously, you're going to be dealing with some 5-year-olds in your life and people that are variously vulnerable in the world. You're going to deal with business professionals, people you're hiring, people that are hiring you, friends, family, all of these things. And if you really think, I'm going to give the exact same presentation every time, well, you're going to have to work on that presentation. And I'm not saying that one or the other is better. What I'm saying is be aware of what you are doing, because if you are not, you run the risk of doing something wildly inappropriate with one audience that would be completely acceptable with another. And as I said, people think that variations are acceptable if they are still in alignment with your core values, with those hallmarks of your inventory. So as you go through the week, as you wait for the next episode of the series, begin to think about this a bit. What are the realms that you inhabit? Now, I named quite a few, but there are others. Everything that you are a part of is equally valid here, and you might be a part of realms that I have no idea about, or maybe even that I don't know exist. But be aware of them. Make note of when it is that you are presenting in a way that you feel is authentic, and when you might be doing something that's not authentic to who you are. And again, this is one to many. I don't know who you are. I cannot advise you individually. So all that I can do is advise that you ask yourself questions. I'm going to talk many other times throughout social media and in the seasons that come ahead of a toddler chain. If you make this cascade in the way of a 4-year-old, you will say, why, and you'll get to the answer. And it will end up being much more complex than you ever dreamed, and that's a good thing. So if you realize that today you acted and you presented in a way that wasn't true to who you believe you are, don't just feel ashamed. Don't say, well, tomorrow's another day. Instead, say, why did I do that? And you'll get an answer. And then you'll say, oh, it was because I wanted to impress those people. Why did I do that? Why would I want that? And you might need to change the end of the sentence, but it should always begin with how or why, and that toddler cascade will reveal things that you never dreamed about. But it will only happen if you take care of yourself, friends. You have no other life.